So next, since corruption often exists within powerful networks, including na doon yung political dynasties, pati na rin yung entrenched officials who benefits from this status quo, resistance from entrenched interests, including na doon yung mga corrupt officials and politically connected actors, this could hinder reform efforts. So lastly, these reforms take significant time to implement. Programs like the Supreme Court's Case Decongestion Initiative, which aim to address backlogs in lower courts, it took time to show partial results. So, this reform can be a time-consuming and may not yield immediate results, leading to public frustration and pwede rin mag-lead sa loss of confidence. So, to wrap this up, this initiative, it emphasizes yung pag-address ng systemic weaknesses sa ating gobyerno para mag-ensure na accountability, transparency, and para na rin ma-ensure yung alignment with international standards. This initiative, it aims na patunayan natin sa internationally that we are capable of handling complex cases na merong ugnay dun sa human rights violation. Next, the reporter po.
The next possible solution is the alternative course of action is establishing a special domestic tribunal. The proposal is to establish a special domestic tribunal that will aim to create a court na nakatutok sa mga cases na the extrajudicial killings and also other human rights abuses from drug war. This tribunal would speed up the investigation and also prosecute, showing the government commitment to holding suspect or individual accountable and ensuring that justice for the victims. The advantage of this ACA is to make the investigation more faster. Mabilis ang process ng investigating and also prosecute cases. The other advantage naman is to maaaring mapakita natin na ang Philippines is also serious sa addressing ng human rights violation. And the last advantage naman po is less ICC involvement. If the tribunal works well, hindi na masyadong mangangailangan ang ICC. Pero mayroong disadvantage. The disadvantage is this tribunal often focus sa mga specific cases like high-profile human rights violations rather than sa mga bigger or systematic problems. The other one naman po is they may have limited resources such as money, staff, and time, which restricts the ability to handle many cases. Then the last is, without strict safeguards, this tribunal can be influenced by political interests, making it hard sa atin na tackle cases involving powerful people or systematic issues.
Alternative course of action po is establishing a comprehensive lustration and vetting framework. So, while there are several mechanisms po for vetting public officials like CSC, hindi pa rin enough since yung approach ng mga to is fragmented and lacks the systematic reach and mandate na associated po with strong lustration practices. Ang pag-establish ng comprehensive lustration and vetting framework sa Philippines involves creating a systematic approach para i-assess yung qualifications, integrity, and suitability ng mga individuals for government roles, ensuring na they meet ethical and professional standard and potentially ma-exclude yung mga individuals from positions of power based on their past actions. So, here are 3 advantages. Unang advantage po ng well-structured lustration and vetting framework is nag-ensure na yung mga qualified and ethical individuals lang yung appointed or elected sa public office. Next advantage would be alignment with international standards. Sa pag-establish ng comprehensive vetting process, it would align domestic practices with international standards, particularly in terms of human rights and accountability. Such alignment can enhance po yung Philippines standing with the ICC and other international bodies. Basically, improved relations also means increased support and cooperation po on various fronts including aid, trade, and diplomatic relations. And lastly po would be the restoration of public confidence in government institutions by systematically excluding individuals with a history of abuses and corruption from positions of power. syempre the public can have a greater assurance na yung leaders nila is committed po sa ethical governance. Next, let's move forward po sa disadvantages. So, sa pag-develop and pag-implement po ng comprehensive vetting framework, it will require adequate financial resources as it is complex and a resource-intensive exercise requiring multidisciplinary skills, considering din na there are various reform projects na nagko-compete po for scarce resources. Next is the potential po for the illustration process to be susceptible sa political manipulation. So, there is a risk na yung framework, it could be used para i-target yung mga political opponents which undermines po yung credibility and purpose nito. So, lastly po, ang pag-establish ng comprehensive illustration and vetting framework is also a time-consuming process. So, it requires an extensive research, stakeholder consultations, and the development of legal and institutional mechanisms. As a result, yung lack of immediate results, it may lead po to public frustration and disillusionment po.
So moving forward to the best alternative course of action that we have chosen. So among the three proposed solutions, strengthening the domestic legal and judicial system is the best initiative for us para mag-address ng issue of complementarity in the domestic legal system inadequacy, as it enhances the capacity and integrity of our legal and judicial institutions, and para rin ma-ensure na yung public confidence is mabalik in the rule of law and reduces reliance with international mechanism such as the ICC. So, yung pag-strengthening ng ating domestic legal and judicial system, it is a critical step toward creating a just, transparent, and accountable government. Although this path presents challenges such as yung financial strain and resistance from vested interest, the long-term benefits which are pag-restore ng public trust, pag-improve ng international reputation, and yung pag-institutionalize ng accountability, these are essential for sustainable governance. And with persistence, strategic planning, and public support, the Philippines can achieve a more robust and credible legal system that are capable of addressing both domestic and international concerns effectively. So, moving forward, paano nga ba natin ma-achieve yung alternative course of action na to? So, we proposed 5 recommendations for successful implementation, which are to strengthen judicial capacity, to offer competitive salaries, promote core justice values, engage in global partnerships, and optimize case management systems. So, first, to strengthen judicial capacity. So, to ensure judges and yung court personnel natin are equipped to handle complex cases, particularly those involving human rights violation, and pati na rin yung mga extrajudicial killings, specialized training programs are essential para dito. So, these trainings can be facilitated by partnering with organizations like Human Rights Watch or Amnesty International. So, in cases na lang na nangyayari ng extrajudicial killings tied to Duterte's war on drugs, judges often deal with intricate evidence na involve yung police operations and victim testimonies. So, a regular workshop could include mock trials where judges practice evaluating evidence from a human rights perspective. So, this will ensure that decisions are fair and just, and especially when state actors are involved. So, next po is offering competitive salaries. So, as we all know po, yung mababang salaries and the judiciary law enforcement is a significant driver of corruption. So, by aligning compensation with private sector standards, yung government can attract top talent and reduce financial vulnerabilities that lead to unethical behavior. Ang kagaya na lang po nung nangyari sa Singapore, they serves as a model where judicial salaries are competitive with the private sector. So, yung similar approach po, kagaya po na sa Singapore, it can also happen in the Philippines. We could adapt to that technique that could ensure that public servants such as yung mga prosecutors natin, yung mga naghahandle ng mga high-profile drug cases, they are not tempted by bribes. So yung pag-implement po natin ng salary review committee could systematically address yung mga wage disparities and para na rin mag-introduce ng performance-based incentives. So next po, yung pag-promote po ng core judicial values. So ethical integrity, this is a fundamental to a fair legal system. So yung mga judges natin, yung mga law enforcement officers natin, they must undergo annual ethics training para mag-reinforce ng values such as accountability, yung due process, and respect for human rights. So for example po, we could do a workshop for judges na pwede mag-simulate ng mga scenarios where they must evaluate cases na nag-involve ng mga state forces accused of misconduct. Like yun nga, yung torture and unlawful detention. So, yung collaboration din po with NGOs, this program could highlight nga yung social and legal consequences na nag-overlook ng ethical standards, fostering a judiciary that prioritizes justice over external pressures. So number 4 po, yung pag-engage in global partnership, which is very important para ma-accomplish po natin yung successful implementation ng alternative course of action po na ito. International partnership, this will provide nga in expertise and resources needed to overhaul judicial practices. As I discussed kanina po, regarding po sa challenges na pwedeng harapin ng alternative course of action na to, which is yun nga yung financial burden. So therefore, pag-engage po natin in global partnership, they can provide yun nga yung resources that are needed para mag-overhaul ng judicial practices. Isa na dun po yung collaboration with bodies like United Nations or internal commissions of jurists para po ma-ensure that reforms are grounded in global best practices. So, we could do joint training programs with the United Nations para mag-equip ng mga Filipino judges na mag-address ng crimes against humanity more effectively. So, lastly po, optimizing case management system. So, a national e-court system can revolutionize judicial efficiency by digitizing records, filings, and case updates that can reduce delays that undermine justice. For example na lang po dito yung nangyari po sa Estonia, sa country po ng Estonia, where they become an inspiration for e-court system. So the Philippines could implement a platform where all stakeholders, such as the judges, lawyers, and the public, pwede sila mag-track ng case progress in real time. So this would be particularly impactful for drug-related cases, which often face significant backlogs due to manual processes. So, in conclusion po, by implementing these systematic reforms, the Philippine government can tackle inefficiencies and corruption at their root. Specialized judicial training, competitive compensation, ethics-focused education, global partnership, and digital modernization form a comprehensive strategy para po mag-strengthen ng ating legal and judicial system. So these measures, they are not only to enhance the judiciary's ability to handle sensitive cases, but also rebuild public trust in our legal system. This transformation is very essential for creating a legal system para mag-uphold ng principles of fairness, accountability, and transparency.
So, to conclude, yung investigation ng ICC into the Philippines war on drugs ay nag-reveal ng significant gaps kung paano hinahandle ng state yung mga issues related sa human rights violations. So, para ma-protect ang national sovereignty and ma-reduce ang reliance on international intervention, it is very crucial na mag-lean yung state sa pag-strengthen ng domestic legal and judicial systems. So, this would mean improving independence and pag-align with global standards to better address human rights violations internally.
And lastly, broader implication for public administration and governance, the ICC investigation into Philippines war on drugs highlights the needs for accountability and adherence to international human rights standards. Pinapakita po dito how important of ensuring government action align with legal and ethical principles. Global scrutiny can lead to reforms that protect human rights. Public administrators should integrate international standards into their policies, promoting transparency, integrity, and public safety. Key lessons include the importance of independent oversight, civil society engagement, and also international cooperation in governance. This case emphasized the value of addressing human rights issues and upholding the rule of law in a globalized world.
So that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.